if you grew up in a very toxic environment, it's going to be challenging for you to recognize your true value, because if that's the case, then likely chances every time you try to shine, you might have been dimmed down. But I just wanted to remind you today that you are not that same little child, and that child deserves to be able to show who they are. That child deserves to shine. So take incremental steps day by day to tell yourself you can do it, you are capable, and then take action. Okay? Affirmations after time with no action is basically being delusional, because you're not going to make any change in your life just by saying, oh, I'm going to do this, or just meditating in the forest all day. And is that great? Absolutely. But what is also great is taking action, actionable steps to doing whatever it is that you want to do. Now, how do you know what you really want out of life? What are you most envious of someone else for? That is what you really want. What do you, when you see that person doing this particular thing, what really triggers you to be a hater to someone else? Whatever you are hating on someone else for, and typically people who grew up in toxic situations are have an easier time being envious than having admiration. And that makes sense based on the dynamics of how you were raised and brought up. So I don't think of it as a negative thing. Think of it as, okay, this is probably what I want to do. Now, how do I get there? Stop spending so much time beating yourself up like those people did to you, and be more graceful with yourself. That's the next thing. So the first thing is to see what you want to do, which likely is what you're envious of someone else. You might be envious of that person's relationship with their children. You might be envious of that person's relationship with themselves or their spouse. You might be envious of where they've made it in life. Whatever it is, whatever you're envious of someone else, that's a good place to let you know that that's what you want to do. That's what you want to be. The next thing that you can do is be graceful with yourself, and know that as long as you're making progress, even if you did, instead of flying off the handle, maybe this time you just yelled, and then the next time you'll do a little bit less and a little bit less, a little bit less. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And at least if you try, you're better off than not doing it at all. And then sometimes when you start trying, depending on how you grew up, then that's when, oh, you ain't gonna never be done. Why would you try this anyway? You know, you keep going. That is the programming trying to stop you from succeeding. That is your survival self coming into you, because when you were a child and you did this thing, you got hit. Or when you were a child and you did this thing, you were talked down on. When you were a child and you did this thing, you got yelled at. So that's the inside of you saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do it. And it will tell you those things that those people said to you when you were trying to do that, so that it can remind you, okay, stop. Because the last time, based on past and previous experience, when you did this thing, this particular situation was the unfortunate result of that. So don't do it again, because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to experience the pain that came afterwards. But this does not have to happen. You are not in that household with those people anymore. And if you can just keep going and get past that, you will feel better. And then it will give you the courage to try a little bit more. And that's where I say the compound interest comes into play. Because now, instead of operating from a 1, you might be operating from a 1.2. And 1.2 is still higher than 1. So that way, instead of being at 2 next time, because you're doing 1 plus 1, you'll be at 2.2. And you'll be a little bit more. And then next time, instead of being 1 plus 1 plus 1 and being at a 3, you'll be at a 2.2 plus 2.2 plus 2.2, which is 6.6. And so all of a sudden you've made such a great change, and you've doubled your productivity. You've doubled your confidence. You went from 3 and now you're at 6.6. And then if you do it again, you'll be doing 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, or you're doing 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. And it continues to expand. So every time those voices come into your mind, you say, I can do it, I will do it, I must do it. And you keep going, because that is a sign of you literally overcoming that nonsense that was programmed to you as a child. And I'm not saying it to judge those people who programmed you in that way, because Lord only knows what happened to them for them to become that way. But this ain't about them. This is about you, okay? This is about you taking control. This is about you looking that little kid version of yourself in the mirror and saying, I got you. I got you. I'm gonna shine because you weren't allowed to. But I'm grown now. I'm not gonna get those punishments for being my best self. And if someone tries to, pipe down, Mr. Brown. It's my time now. Back up. Okay? So that's what it's all about. And that is how day by day, little by little, we become better, better, and better, because now you've done it once. So, and wait, oh yeah, that person's not here. Okay, now I can do it again. I'm not, and then your mind will start to shift and say, wait a minute. And it took years to get, because I don't know how old you are, but however old you are, if you haven't shifted before, that's what you're dealing with. That many years of this. So it's not going to be overnight, but a year from now, 6 months from now, a week from now, even, you might start to notice different things. And one thing about it, and two things for sure, if you don't try, you'll never do it. But if you do try, you probably will. You might. And either way, you'll feel better about yourself. And you just keep going, keep going. And also, what's very important to realize and remember is that failure is a sign of success. These notifications coming up. Failure is literal signs of success. You did not fail. You only fail if you quit. But how will you learn how to tie your shoe unless you learn how not to tie your shoe? And a lot of the things that you're doing, especially if you come from that environment, is going to be new. So it's going to there's a learning curve there, but it doesn't mean that you're dumb. It means that, of course, it's something new. Of course, you're going to have to learn it. So have grace with yourself, give yourself space to grow, and do it for the you who couldn't. Do it for the you who wanted to go to school to be a ballerina, but went to school to be a doctor instead because your parent told you to. Do it for the you that wanted to go to school for finance, but your parent, even though they could afford it, said, you can't go because I'm not paying for it. So you went and became a barista. Do it for the you who wanted to be an artist, but your father was like, that's gay, so you're gonna be a football player. Now you have brain damage. Do it for the you who wanted to be a singer, but your mom was a hater, and so you ended up playing the cello. Do it for that you. Go hard or go home. And then if you do, because people say don't get mad at people for doing it. If you're gonna get mad at anyone for not doing it, get mad at the old you. Don't get mad at the new you. Get great at the new you. Get excited for the new you. Get confident in the new you. You've been probably mad enough. But at least if you're going to be mad, channel that anger and that rage into what you're going to do next. Don't think about, because it's going to happen, oh, well, if I only would have found this earlier. Okay, yeah, but that didn't happen. And everything happens there's some kind of orchestration happening in this universe. I don't know what it is. Maybe we're in a simulation. Who knows? But there's some sort of orchestration happening here. But the point is that it happened already. You can't control that. But the KFC dude, was homeless, living in his car at 60 years old with nothing but a recipe and a dream. And he did it. So whether you have 1 more second on this planet, or you have 30 more years or 10 more days, you do everything in your power today to shine for the version of you who couldn't. You do everything in your power to grow and learn and be the best you that you can be for the version of you who couldn't, because you can now. Be courageous. Everyone is afraid of something, but not everyone lets that stop them. And you can be one of those people. You do not have to be a product of your environment, your product. Oh, I gotta leave better than that. You do not have to be a product of your environment. Your environment can and will be a product of you, period. I'll see you next time.